Okay, just before everybody starts tweeting me and Facebooking me, I think it's a very important debate to have about same-sex marriage, but that's not what we're having right now. There is a great time for it. We'll do it on this show. We do it on this network all the time. That's not what we're talking about right now. Whatever you think about same-sex marriage, today, March 9th, 2010, is a milestone. From this day forward, same-sex weddings can and will be legally performed in Washington, D.C. It's just one of many cities that do it, but this is the nation's capital. There's something symbolic about it. The D.C. Council passed a law last December, but it only took effect last Wednesday. The first gay couples to apply for licenses then were first allowed to wed this morning. There's a 3-day or 3-business-day waiting period, which is why it's just happened now. The district joins 5 states where same-sex marriage is legal. Let me show them to you. Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Iowa. Now, New Jersey allows civil unions. That confers all the, or I think it confers all the legal rights of marriage, but we're going to talk to somebody who knows more about this than I do. And 4 western states, California, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada, grant spousal rights to unmarried couples, whether they are gay or straight. But this, obviously, is a volatile topic, and things can change. There have been changes. Look at Maine. Last May, the state legally, it legalized gay marriage in May of '09, but then it was banned. Voters overturned it in November of '09. Now, on the other side of the country, California, the state Supreme Court approved gay marriage in May of 2008, but 6 months later, voters passed Proposition 8, which barred it. A federal trial on that matter is underway in California right now. So all this brings me to our guests now. Sultan Shakir of the Human Rights Campaign is a group devoted to gay and lesbian issues and very involved in same-sex marriage in Washington. Fred Hertz is a real estate lawyer, but he specializes in issues facing unmarried partners. He's from San Francisco. He's written books on this. And again, before anybody gets mad at me, both of these guys think gay marriage is okay. So we're not having the debate. It's not like I forgot to book the person who doesn't like gay marriage. I booked these guys for a specific reason. Thank you for being here. I want to start with you, Fred. Good to see you after a long time. I want to ask you, Fred, what is the difference for people who've been in these states waiting to get married? Yes. What changes for them largely?
Well, here's what's so interesting, Ali, and I'm glad you asked the question that way. The legal rights and responsibilities actually don't change. And what's so different about the debate now is that we're not debating about whether same-sex couples should have the rights. The question is, should they be allowed into the room of marriage through the front door or the back door? And what's changed now in the 6 states you mentioned, including now the District of Columbia, is that same-sex couples are allowed to enter into the room of marriage through the front door with the dignity and the respect that they're entitled to. Their actual legal rights don't change.
Okay.
It's the social dignity that changes.
Sultan, let's talk about this for a second, because as what I was just describing to our audience, showing those maps and things like that, it's really a patchwork of civil unions and marriage and not marriage. I mean, so what do you think about the way this is sort of developing and evolving through the country?
Well, I mean, I think it is important to look at the fact that same-sex couples here in the district are now treated with dignity and respect, but it's also not just same-sex couples, it's their families. I mean, one of the really great things about what happened today when Sinjoila and Angelisa, was the couple that you showed in the opening footage, were married, was that her mother stood up and saying, "You are so beautiful to me." And I think that's really what marriage is all about, is about not just the couple celebrating their love and commitment, but that really being shared with the family and friends who are there. And now that the District of Columbia, the nation's capital, allows that to happen, it's really a beautiful day, not just for the couples, but for their families.
Is there something significant, Fred, with respect to employees, benefits, wills, passing things on after you die? Is there something that piece of paper changes for gay couples or unmarried couples, unwed couples?
Here's what it does. And this is what I found so interesting. One of the purposes of law is to give people clarity about their lives. And as the last speaker just said, the patchwork of marriage equivalence and marriage lights and city domestic partnership leaves couples and their families, and frankly, their bankers and their title companies and their real estate agents, with a great deal of uncertainty of, is this couple really married or not? So what happens, and this has been shown in Amsterdam and it's been shown in Vermont, is that when couples can say they are married, well, then their employers understand that and the rules kick in. To say you're a domestic partner with some of the rights but not all of them leaves you vulnerable to uncertainty and to challenge. So I would say that it does dramatically cement the rights which are gray and ambiguous often under civil union such as New Jersey or domestic partners such as California.
Sultan, tell me what the momentum is. Every time there's a ruling of some sort or a court overturns something or we have a vote like we did in Maine, one side or the other claims victory and says things are about to change. Where is the momentum? Is it voters overturning gay rights that courts approve? Is it legislators saying it's okay? What's going on?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I think that we see day after day after day more people around the country understanding the fact that same-sex couples should be treated with the same rights and same benefits as opposite-sex couples. But there's actually a really good point that Fred made about the craziness of the patchwork that we have going on here in the U.S. with marriages and civil unions and domestic partnerships. And the interesting thing about that is when same-sex couples travel outside of their home state, if they're married, that marriage is recognized in other places that recognize same-sex marriages. But if you have a domestic partnership and you travel to a state like Massachusetts or you travel to another state that recognizes same-sex marriage, they're not really going to know what your domestic partnership is or your civil union is.
Right.
So when a couple in the U.S. gets down on one knee and they say, I would want you to, or will you? What comes after that is, will you marry me?
Right.
And that's what's recognized around the country here in the U.S. And that's why same-sex couples having access to marriage here in the district is so important.
Hey, Fred, one quick comment here. For those people who couldn't be less interested in same-sex marriage but are in domestic partnerships or want to know what their rights, is there anything that opposite-sex couples should be taking from this trend? Is there some way in which they gain or lose from this?
Well, here's what's important, and this is actually part of what's tricky. Some state domestic partnerships allow opposite-sex couples to register. In California, opposite-sex couples over the age of 62, for Social Security reasons, can register. So what I say to opposite-sex couples, I say, first of all, on the whole, you're better off marrying because the federal government, and as was just discussed, other states will recognize it. If you don't want to marry, but you want some of the rights and duties, actually I can say Nolo has a book for you. It's called Living Together. And depending on what your situation is, whether it's parentage or inheritance or Social Security, domestic partner or civil union might be good enough.
Right.
But you might need marriage if you really want the full spectrum of benefits.
All right, great conversation, guys. Sultan Shakir is a regional manager of the Human Rights Campaign, joining us from Washington. Fred Hertz is an author and attorney, joining us from San Francisco. And again, before you all go nuts on Facebook and Twitter, two guys who both support gay marriage, okay? This wasn't the debate on whether or not we should have gay marriage. If you write to me a lot about it and you feel that we have to do that, we'll do that separately. Thanks, guys.